Most of my career working as a hands-on technical executives, working around the world in 4 continents, America, Europe, Asia, and Africa, working with the businesses in industries, including the banking, insurance, retail, and telecommunication. I have been helping those clients to do the right things the right way. And the approach I have been taking has been practical and very simple, and that's what we all learn in the high school, not the kindergarten. Simply 4 W's and 1 H. Why, what, how, when, where, and when. So when I typically get engaged with a transformation or business transformation initiative, I start with the first thing, why there is a need to any change, and why those changes hasn't been done before, and what has been preventing from happening. So typical answer when you ask that question from the executive who are responsible for the business performance is many things, and one of them is that the IT has been an inhibitor and inflexible, helping them to achieve what they need to achieve. And when you go to the folks who are responsible for IT, like the CTOs and CIOs, and asking them, what's the situation? And their answer, which is reasonable, is saying, I inherited a legacy environment which is inflexible, which has been created in the 50, 60 years, and has been the result of lots of the merger and acquisition. And every time I try to do something, I have to deal with that one. I really don't know how this environment was developed. We don't have the insight to it. Every time I'm trying to bring something new to that environment, I have to deal with the interoperability, integration, and also vendor locking. And when you ask them, okay, that's reasonable, what you're trying to do to address them? And typical answer these days, the last few years, has been, I'm moving to the cloud. And so cloud has become like kind of the silver bullet for solving all the world's hunger problem. So when you look at the different clients, they have a different approach. So when they look at, even when you start seeing how they're using the cloud, some of the time you start becoming concerned because they're moving all of their workload to a specific environment. It looks like there is a potential for locking into one specific vendor or one environment. And they forget all the problems they have. I mean, the vendor locking, inflexibility and difficult change. So there is a concern, if you don't do the right thing in the cloud environment, if you don't define the right cloud platform, and if you don't have the right strategy how you move your workload from existing environment to this new environment, you may be creating your next legacy system in a few years. And you have to deal with that one again. So what I want to share with you, my point of view and experience, and what is the right thing to do. Just making sure we don't take it wrong. I'm not saying the cloud is not good. Cloud is the right thing to do, but you need to have the right strategy. You need to take the right cloud, and you have the right kind of strategy to move the workload there. So with that one as a starting point, again, when you look at all the reason for digital transformation, there is nothing new and surprising here. You look at the business need, everyone trying to achieve some of those business needs. And when you look at most of this transformation are technology-enabled transformation, looking at technology to help them with the predicting what is going to happen, helping them to automate the activities, and also securing the workload or modernization. So most of these things are technology-enabled transformation. But one thing is important to keep in mind, the technology by itself is not going to solve those problems. When you use the technology, you need to have the right operating model. You cannot bring a new technology and work the same way you were working in the old environment. You need to have the right processes, you need to have the right governance, you need to have the right set of the skills. And if you do all of those things, it's reasonable to expect there is going to be a better business outcome out of those activities. And you can expect to improve the product quality. You can expect to get good amount of the cost reduction. You can expect to get the employee and the customer satisfaction and also retain your customers. And that is why, again, as I said, when we look at this thing here, the cloud is coming because, again, to transform the business, there is the need for bringing the agility and speed to the market. As I said, when you talk to some of the business executives, their challenge is that it takes so long to bring a new capability. And I start wondering how in the world, this new company like the Google and others, they can just quickly bring capabilities to the market and for them take a long, long time. And their answer is that, okay, they're using the cloud, so cloud might be the answer. And when you look at the other side of it also in terms of enterprise productivity, so it's just simply saying, if I can use a platform, if I can use an approach to bring that time to the market and bring this kind of the productivity, I can quickly innovate. But again, as I said before, based on experience, I'm sure most of you have also, is not just only technology itself. Is that what is that structure of that technology? What is the architecture of that cloud? And do you have the right operating model? Do you have the right set of the skill? Do you have the right set of the governance and so on? So, but if that is, and when you start thinking about, if the cloud is going to do what is not expected to do, so when you look at today, there is only 20% of the workload in large enterprises have moved to the cloud. So why is it that? Why is it 20%, not 80%, not 90%? And when you look at what has been already moved to the cloud, you look at, one is that the piece of the lift and shift. There was some workload was running their environment. Maybe they were running a virtual environment. They just simply take it from here, put it on the public cloud in the virtual environment. They just lift and shift it there. And some of the time, for example, they were using the Unix, moving from here to there, and start using the Linux operating system. So easy kind of lift and shift. So they got some benefit out of it in terms of they don't need to worry anymore about managing the environment, but now it's going to be done by someone else. But some of those inherent problems we talk about, like the vendor lock-in, like a difficulty in integration, those are the things still is going to reside there. And some of the other work has been done, part of that 20%, has been a set of the new application need to be developed. So the new capability needed, they use all this kind of interesting technologies coming, very productive, like the Python and others, to develop this application. But after doing all those 20%, so there is a set of the unforeseen challenges they see. I have heard from the client when they move some of the workload to the public cloud, they start surprising the bill they're getting. Oh, I didn't know this is going to cost me this much. And also, on the other side, those new applications they develop with the new technologies, Python and everything else, they just simply, okay, I have this cool technology. It looks nice, user interface, everything is modern. But how in the world I'm going to integrate that one with my existing environment? Because this needs to integrate with every environment there. They start worrying about the integration, security, and so on. So that is the 1 to 20%. But really, the majority of the value that they're going to receive out of that modernization and the cloud is going to be when they move that remaining 80%. When you look at what is that remaining 18%, it has to do with the legacy system. Again, something we need to keep in mind, there is two sets of the client's environment. One is that a company is starting from scratch, like the Netflix and so on. They start with a kind of greenfield environment. You can build everything in a kind of the cloud-native environment. Everything is going to be there. But when we are dealing with the large enterprises, that they have a large legacy environment, the companies has been working 50, 60 years ago. The companies who are the result of the merger and acquisition, they have this environment there. You need to see how you're going to move this workload to the new environment, how you can modernize them while you're getting those benefits, making that interoperation, integration, making sure you're not going back again to a vendor lock-in. So the focus is going to be on those kind of the environment and what is the right way of doing those things. So if you start looking at, if you look at the left-hand side of the chart, if the strategy is a typical cloud strategy. Simply, I'm going to pick up a public cloud environment. I'm going to put the environment there. And most of the companies, the way they're deciding, not everyone, but some of them, they're deciding and say, okay, I'm going to go to this public cloud environment for this type of workload, maybe general IT. I'm going to use another public cloud environment for the, let's say, data and AI work because the company, and I'm going to use the other one. So when you look at if that is the approach, it's going to be used for that 80% remaining workload. So if you think about this thing, you're going to get to the environment challenges you have today. So you have the multiple isolated environment. You're going to be difficult to interoperable, integrate all this kind of the different part of the work if you don't do it the right way. So one potential approach could be if we create a horizontal cloud. Still, if it makes sense to use multiple public cloud providers, and also some of the workload you're not going to move there is going to reside on your environment, and a horizontal platform that it would enable you to develop once and deploy anywhere, have a workload portability there. And if you do that, then you can have also a set of the horizontal capability. Have one product team that can take care of everything. Have one process for operation control. Have a set of skills to complete, rather than saying, I need this type of skill to work with this environment, I need this type of skill to work with that environment. And remember, this is all we were suffering today. So in order to use the cloud to address some of those immediate and urgent and difficult challenges that we are dealing with the legacy system, so one way would be if we can create a horizontal cloud, which is open, using the open source and open technology as far as possible, and having provide a common way, make it easier to move the workload across the different environment, even on your own on-prem environment. And the thing is that, again, unfortunately, this doesn't happen in most of the time because it looks like because of the business pressure, some of the time we react to the situation. We have a checklist, we have a commitment to the business, we want to do something quickly. Don't spend the time to do the right architecture and design and just simply trying to do something in the hope of something going to come together. So we did, in IBM with some of the partners, we did some kind of the analysis in terms of the value. Business value is going to come on that one. So if the line, you see the horizontal line, obviously, there is no doubt by using the public cloud only, you're going to get some value. I mean, there is no question on that. That is going to be. But if you can come up with a horizontal cloud platform, then you can maximize, you can increase that value significantly. So you see the line is going there. You can actually, if you bring the right level of the workload and you do the right level of architecture and having the right level of operating model, you can increase the value getting out of this transformation 2.5 times more than what you're doing before. And when you look at the kind of the different dimension of it, so if you look at on the right-hand side, those value drivers, the value is going to come from the 5 specific areas. Expectation of those things is that be business accelerators, like reducing the time to the market, or it could be on the application development management, increasing the developer productivity, or it could be on the infrastructure cost efficiency. Just for example, bringing the self-healing to the environment, using the AI and the automation there. So if something goes wrong, the thing can kind of have a right life cycle management to self-heal the environment. Or it could be the compliance. So you build the environment in a way that automatically can comply with the regulatory requirement and avoid paying big fines to the government because, for example, for somehow by operator's mistake, you violated and data requirement, for example. And the last but not the least, trying to use the ecosystem and the open system to kind of bring innovation to your environment there. When you do that one, again, the cloud journey like the transformation journey, has a different maturity level. You cannot jump everything else. So if you look at here, we have defined kind of 5 stages of the maturity. The first stage at the beginning is that as-is environment for many places. When you have an on-prem environment, most of your workload running on your current environment, the one you are suffering from, or you're having difficult to manage, and so you're doing some experimentation with the cloud. The second level becomes, we call it the manage. So you start using some kind of the basic cloud and lift and shift some of your workload to that environment. So it's a mixture of what you have already there and some of the workload running there based on the lift and shift. And the second one would be when you have start using some of the development capability, for example, DevSecOps, bringing some of automation. So it's not just only lift and shift. So bringing some of the things is going to help you to increase productivity beyond just only infrastructure. And when you go to the other one is that really when you have, instead of having the piecemeal cloud, I mean, one here, one there, you have a horizontal platform. So instead of having cloud as a kind of the environment, run the application, then you have a cloud platform. And now that cloud platform can help you to easily move the workload from one place to the other one. Or, for example, use your public cloud, because of all those things, to develop application, to do all of your innovation, everything else. When the application is mature, the workload is mature, is easy to use, just move it that one to a different environment to work. And that is a major requirement for enterprises that they're multinational and they're working on different places. They have operation in 20, 25 countries. So they want to develop application in one place and kind of move it there and avoid duplication and redundancy and all the things we look at that one. So really, when we go through this kind of the digital transformation journey, we really need to decide where are we today in terms of this maturity level, where do we want to go, which is the practical to go. And again, obviously, like any other transformation, you cannot jump easily from one stage to the other stage. You may need to take a step-by-step approach, make sure the thing is done. And actually, it's interesting. So one way of looking at those things, it could be when we look at the option C here. So this is some of the work we have been doing with some of the clients, different work. You look at options. So option C, you look at that one, is that when they're using a public cloud, it could be any of those things, and all of them are great. And all of them, I mean, Google, I mean, the Amazon, everyone is an IBM partner. We work very closely together. But in terms of the value, when you look at that one, you get the value from your investment and the work you're doing there. But if you start, instead of just only working on the cloud and vertical, you start going to horizontal, taking that capability to different environment, you can increase your benefit from 25% to 95%. But still, you are in the kind of the one kind of the vendor environment. But if you can come up with an architecture that creates a horizontal layer, let's say, for example, you take the OpenShift container platform, you put it in every place. So I have on-prem environment, I have it there. I have the public cloud one, I put it there. Public cloud two, I put it there. I have the edge, I put it there. So I have a common platform there. So when I develop one workload, I can put it here. I can move it every place along. And some of those problems, remember I mentioned at the beginning, when the CIO, CTO was saying, interoperability challenges, integration challenges, vendor locking, and so on. Some of those things, not all of them, could be overcome. So when we start kind of the cloud journey, we really need to think about, we need to architect what is the right approach for one. Maybe you start from the option C, step one, just add something to the option B. When you go to the B, you start using, instead of using the native capability of that service provider, for example, Kubernetes services, instead of using the unique to that specific environment, use the OpenShift one, or open source one. And also, just some time ago, I was looking at around the web, like many of us do. So I saw this paper, which is written by a couple of the venture capitalists in the US, and just simply it was arguing, and the link is there, you can go look at that one. So the argument was some of the companies who provide the SaaS offering, they move they kind of dismantle their own kind of environment infrastructure and move everything to the public cloud and do everything there. And then they find out there the cost is going significantly up, and some of them start kind of coming back in terms of having a hybrid environment. So again, doing some development there, when it goes to operation, bring it there. So even this was for those SaaS offering, it may make sense some of the enterprises, especially the one international, they have multiple environments. They look at the same type of approach. Maybe it makes sense for them also have a hybrid environment. So if there is something new need to be done, you need lots of the capability, you can use in the public cloud environment to develop the solution, refine it, take care of it, make sure if it's working. When it's going to the operation, production, just move it to the other one. But in order to do that one, you need to have that horizontal cloud capabilities. So now, that piece of it was quickly, with the time we have, is touching about the platform. But no, I can have the right platform. That is one piece of the formula and the puzzle. The second one is, what do I do with that platform? The workload I have, because the most important thing is that you're running that workload on this environment there. So that is what, when you look at most of the large and complex enterprises, the type of the workload they have, as I was talking about, these are the workload running on the legacy environment. You look at, for example, some of those things need to they need to comply with the regulation. They need to have the high-end security and so on. So now, how are we going to deal with that one? So when you look at most of the modernization project, assuming you have the platform, they take this application, most of those things are not successful. When you look at the reason why they are having the difficulty, there are typical reasons. One of them may be the business objective is not aligned with the technical objective. So I'm working on the technical guy. I try to be cool, get all this kind of new technology, but I'm not focusing on my modernization effort to deliver the right value to the business. So one would be misalignment between the business and IT priority. The second one, it could be the focus is mostly on the infrastructure, not on the workload. It needs to be both of them. I have even seen some of the time the team who are responsible, they're just staffing those teams just from infrastructure resources, which is needed, but shouldn't be the only one. You can optimize your infrastructure, but you cannot take advantage of it because you're not bringing in the right workload there. The third one could be the focus is mostly about the tool rather than delivering the business to delivering the value to the business. And then you look at the other one, and some of the time it's an issue of a big bang. Okay, I have this big problem, let's just put something there. But some of the time, this is the big change you're making. You need to take one step at a time. And there is a notion of organizational learning. As I said, going to the cloud is not only a technology decision. You need to make sure your team, your organization learns how to work that environment. And that is what is called the organizational learning. And for do that one, you may need to take a step at a time, make sure everything is ready to go that one. And that maturity model I show, it could help to in that journey. Where are you? Where do I want to go next? And where I'm going to go the next one. And then some of the time, it just is a dream of doing something, no real execution plan, and so on. So in order to optimize that cloud platform, we need to have the right approach with the modernization and trying to avoid some of those problems from happening. So when we look at the overall system, so if I had my kind of the hybrid cloud platform, and that is the one, as I say, is the horizontal. So it allows me to move the workload any place I want. Is then open. I'm taking advantage of the open source community innovation coming there. I'm doing my best not to lock in into any specific technology or a vendor or so on. But if I have there, when I go through the journey, again, I need to decide what workload I need to move to the new environment and how I'm going to do it. And when you look at here, so you look at there is two sets of activity. This is the one is called the migrate. That is the one I talked before, the lift and shift. Simply a workload running on the VM in my environment, took it to a similar environment in the private, so I take a benefit. You're changing operating system. But when I'm going to deal with that 80% of difficult work, it's going to be the migration, it's going to be modernization. I need to be able to look at those workloads and try to decide which of them actually makes sense to move. Maybe some of those work we don't need to move them. And the other one, we may have to re-platform them. Some of them we need to re-architect them. So we need to decide what to do there. There is a kind of that modernization journey is not something, okay, a check mark. You really need to work on it. And most of the time, this needs to be done as a result of a collaboration and the co-creation. One team cannot do it. If I own the application, I cannot do it myself. I cannot see everything. I need to bring the partner. I need to bring others here and work at collaborative together. And when we look at the modernization, it's very important to try to see why is it difficult to move to the new environment? What is wrong with this environment? So if it is because of limited knowledge of application, this is an old application, I don't know that much about it, or if it is, I don't have resources, is the old technology, is the problem, depending what is the reason that this application needs to have, there should be a different approach, a different pattern to use. So it's very important to analyze those applications saying, what is wrong? Why is it difficult? And then based on whatever reason we have, we can move it there. And when we do that one path is going to be, we need to do incremental modernization. Again, no big bang. And when we do that one, we need to make sure we do it in a way, because we're going to build the to-be environment gradually, we need to make sure the as-is and the to-be can coexist together for a while until all the function in the to-be environment is implemented and we can replace and sunset the old environment. And to do that one, there is a way, this is a collaborative approach. You need a systematic approach to do it. You cannot do it kind of the ad hoc. And what I share with you, again, a short amount of the time, so this is the approach is taken. If you use what we call it the garage method, if you use that one, bring the right people together to collaborate and work together and co-create the design and solution. And we have done that one in a number of the clients that they have been successful. But again, my message is that, let me wrap it up, is digital transformation is important. Cloud plays an important role, but it is important to pick up the right cloud. In our experience, that should be a horizontal cloud. It should be open, horizontal. It could be multi-cloud, and it needs to support the portability of workload across the environment. And when you did that one for the platform, you need to have the right approach to modernize your existing application. And to do that one, you need to understand what is the reason, why you have difficulty with them, and trying to use the right approach to do that one. And again, this is a collaborative work. Not single group can do it by themselves. You need to bring the right partners, and it's going to be a co-creation between different parties. With that one, let me stop here. Just make sure we stick to our agenda for today.
Thank you, Jamshid. I'm really sorry to have to interrupt you. I realise you're providing loads of information and insight here, so really appreciate that. I just wanted to come on stage because we have had quite a few questions come through, and I felt it was important to try and address one or two of those. One question here is, what are the biggest concerns for large enterprise companies moving from a legacy system to adopt a hybrid cloud model?
So that was the one I was showing in one of those slides there. The challenge with the legacy could be many things or a combination of them. Some of the time is that we don't know what is in the application. We don't have the good knowledge of application. These are the things we result of merger and acquisition. We don't have a skill. So really, I mean, those are the one I showed. Those are the reason. I mean, the lack of the knowledge, skill, old technology, and so they need to understand what are those, what are the main reasons, because not all the legacy applications are the same. And based on whatever it is, the most priority, trying to define the modernization approach.
Okay, and just one final question, just 30 seconds if you can. How important is security currently when adopting cloud?
Is the important one. I mean, it is there because, I mean, the whole reputation of the company based on that one. Assume you are a bank, assume you are a telecommunication, assume you are any business, and you just do all the cool thing, and you don't think about security, and someone hacks your system or something goes wrong, and all the reputation is going to go. So it is important, but it's not the only one. There are other things also as important as security.
Yeah, I think we all agree security is probably the #1 concern. So that's all the time we've got for Jamshid, unfortunately. So Jamshid, thank you very much for your insights today.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.